Why, hello and welcome back to all of my friends, my fans, and fellow FTFLers to the longest weekly running episodic fantasy football update show out there. That's right, it is the FTFL Weekly Update. And not only am I your host, not only am I the owner of the two-time league champions, not only am I the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the Frozen Tundra Football League, I'm also one pissed off individual. I'm not entirely sure why my property seems to be on the list of acceptable things to deface. And let's be real clear, that's a short list to begin with. Yet, my house, my studios, even Undertaker's falling over. That's how pissed off I am right now. Why, year after year, do we see a need to vandalize, to deface? That's right, I'm talking about all this crap that's here in the FTFL studios. I come in tonight to film the show, and what do I find? Oh, everyone's favorite fan of the show has checked back in, the damn number muncher. Yeah, wonderful. There's the list of championships. Now, I have two, like many other people. But it says, oh, Jeff, 4, maybe 5. Oh, Sid, 3, maybe 4. You know what? Brett, 2, maybe 100, for all we damn well know. And yeah, wonderful. Over here, the season point on number muncher, you'd be real happy. The stats department threw together a report on the regular season. Now, I'm going to share that. And oh, wouldn't you know, the damn chart was going to be a part of it. But that wasn't going to be. Now, you didn't know. Regardless, you went ahead and you did what you did. You vandalized this joint. And because of that, number muncher, I've had it. I've had it with all your games. I've had it with all your shenanigans. I've had it with everything that you've done to this place. You know what, number muncher? This should have happened long time ago because you have just continued to poke the bear with all of your stupid stats and all of your stupid charts. That's right, number muncher. You just made the list. Oh, let me tell you what. I wasn't planning on starting the show out so damn hot, but you know what? Sometimes we don't get what we want, do we? No, we don't. All right, so here we go. Guess what? Regular season done and in the books, and Matt, you are now officially... I didn't even drink of water. I'm so heated up right now. All right, so Matt, you are officially on the clock. Number 1 selection in the 2023 FTFL draft, if you so choose, is yours. Now, the regular season is over. We talked last week. The playoff field was set. Now, the seeds are set. Andy is number 1. Eric is number 2. After Eric's amazing season, Andy quietly flew under the radar and is the best team in the regular season in the FTFL. Eric, first round bye. Probably not, though, quite the end of this magical run. Although, of course, the real end of it would be with a title. That is yet to be determined. 3 seed is Sid, 4 is Swart. Now, mind you, Swart, who didn't want to win, who didn't want to be in the playoffs. So I'm sure just having to be a part of this and the fact that he actually has a chance to win another fantasy title has got to just be gut-wrenching. Worst case scenario, make yourself barf. You're so upset. I feel for you, Swart. I feel for you, and I hope you keep winning. That's how much I care. Mark Sir, the 5th seed, and last but certainly not least, Salty with the 6th seed. Now, Eric and Andy, yes, both first-round buys. They both tied the league regular season win record with 11. Now, not the 11-1-1, the Karate Explosion, or whatever the hell name he was using that year. God only knows. Go back and watch the Reaper tapes. You'll get all of those names and more. However, both to 11 wins. Sid had a shot to join the 10-win club and be the third 10, which we never had before. 3 teams, 1 season, 10 wins. I guess we'll have to wait till next year when I win all the games I play. Also, I mentioned earlier a bit of a numbers report. The statistics division here at the FTFL Update has compiled some things. They titled an email they sent to me, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Can't wait to see that. And last but certainly not least, who is on the Reapers hit list this week? 6 down, 4 to go. Only 3 of which will be reaped, leaving the sole survivor. Now, last week, I know the Reaper came. Even though I feel mistakes were made, I am at peace with what happened. And even though I will not be the champion at the end of this season, you have 8.5 more months of staring at pictures of me holding this sweet piece of gold. Woo! Get used to it. Get used to it. Get used to it. All right, on to the games. The Pack Attack coming in at 10-3, taking on the Radioactive Monkeys at 7-6. Now, the Monkeys had been on a little bit of a jaunt since the Josh Jacobs overtime saving grace moment. He had won 2 in a row. It is not going to be 3. 52.5 to him. He got whooped by Eric's 106.5. If you're Eric, you're super excited about Tony Pollard. Dallas right now hitting on all cylinders. Pollard scoring, Elliott scoring. If Pollard continues to score, that may be Eric's meal ticket, scene as Cooper Kupp is not coming back. Derrick Henry had 17.5, but he's been kind of hit or miss. Both of Eric. I will say this right now. If I had to, you said, Brett, who are you picking to win the fantasy championship? Eric would not be my pick. I know he's had a great season, but it's been way too iffy down the stretch. Josh Allen, 16 points. Snow this weekend won't matter. Eric's not playing. That could have been an interesting development. Mike Williams and the Baltimore defense both had 15. Justin Tucker, 12. Juju, 14. Zay Jones, 14 on the bench. Both of those players may see time in the playoffs again. Cooper Kupp is not coming back. Eric has weathered that storm, but his ship has taken on water. Will it stay afloat as we head forward? If you're Saltmarsh, you're in the playoffs, but boy, you kind of stumbled your way in. Josh Jacobs again leading the way, 13 points. The San Fran defense, 12 points. Brett Maher had 11.6 players at 4 under. 6 at 4 or under. Kyler Murray injured. 0 points. He's probably done for the season. That's not good news. Now, you do have Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Irrelevant, 20 points on your bench. Now, as I'm filming, the game should be starting. Is Purdy playing? I saw that it was questionable. Boy, if he doesn't play, I don't know what Salty did. Woo! Your bench almost outscored your starters last week. Adam Saltmarsh, this end may be sooner for you than you'd like. All right, speaking of the end being soon, hopefully never for D's Nuts. That's right, D's Nuts will go on forever. Taking on Tim Dickweed, 4-9. D's Nuts are 7-6, although batting 1,000, if you know what I mean. 109 for Adam, 88.5 for John. If you're Adam, Miles Sanders. 26.5 points. Now, last year, Miles Sanders had 61 points and 0 touchdowns. This year, 145 points and 11 touchdowns. Comeback player of the year for sure. Joe the Mistake Burrow, 20 points. Devontae Smith, 16.5. DK, I'm going to win you a title. Metcalf, 12.5. Folk, 11 points. George Kittle, only 2 double-digit scores all year. This week was not one of them. 2 points for him. In the end, it did not matter. If you're John, Jerry Jeudy had the best game of his career. 26 points for him. Justin Herbert, Harrison Butker both notched a dozen. The Bills' defense had 11. Saquon, not a whole lot there. 3 points. It is now, with this season officially being over for John, 20 years. Now, I'd pull that chart back out, but I don't want to give the number muncher any more credit than I just did by saying his name out loud. John, 20 years since your last title. That's a long time ago, John. Long time ago. Now, also, a long time, well, really not all that long since he lost the Fantasy Bowl last year. Make Cramerica great and glorious again. Coming in at 9-4, taking on the hammerless Hell of Vandals at 3-10, and oh my goodness, I don't know if they borrowed one, if they found one in the gutter, maybe they broke down and finally bought a new one, not sure, but 109.5 points later, Peter gets the win. This is a confidence crusher for Hagen, who now has to go against the team this week in the playoffs that we will get into later that he has not performed well against. 95 points is not a bad week for Sid, but if you score 95 and your opponent, by the way, scores more than that in the playoffs, your season will be done, and it will be over, Mr. Hagen. For Peter, dude, Patrick Mahomes, 28 points, run CMC, 27, James Conner, 15, Josh Reynolds, 10.5 points in that amazing victory over the, we were underdogs to the Lions. We don't get any respect. That's right, Vikings. Get used to it. It's going to be a real abrupt stop when this train pulls into the station here in a couple weeks. Damian Pierce had 10 points. J.K. Dobbins, welcome back on the bench, 14 points. You know, for this season, not going great for Peter. In one of those, you know, he did acquire Gabe Davis in the trade. There was some hope Gabe Davis was going to have a huge season. 101 points in the season, not terrible. 70 of those points in 4 games. So he was boom or bust. Peter has some decent keepers. So this thing may turn around as he heads into next year. I guess we'll have to see. If you're Sid, another week starting Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, you're only going to get away for that so long. Maybe this is the last week. 20 points for him. Justin Jefferson, 19.5. Austin Eckler, Tyreek Hill, 16. Daniel Carlson, 13. Joe Mixon, 7 on the bench. Mark Andrews. It has been 2 months since Mark Andrews had a double-digit game. He had 1 point. Without Lamar Jackson throwing the football, I don't think Mark Andrews is going to do much, and I don't know if Sid has another tight end he could flex. Peter gets the win, a moral victory, if you will. Now, we have moved on to where I want to get into a little bit of the stats from the season. I said this, the statistics department did send me an email this week. Now, they titled it the 2022 regular season, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I can only imagine that this is going to probably not reflect real well on me. All right, so it says here, the good of the 2022 season, the Pack Attack. Scored the 3rd most points per game in the history of the league at 108.6, 108 points average per week. My God. Tied the longest winning streak of all time with 8 games. 8 games in a row till he lost that clunker where he just Actually, no. Sid punched him smooth in the mouth and he stumbled. It's kind of been a little rough since that whole... You mean, really, you started 8-0? Since then, you finished 3-3. 3-3 since that 8-0 run. Scored the most points in the game this season, 166.5. Who knows when that's going to be broken. Another part of the good. Make America great and glorious again. Scored the 7th most points per game in history at 105.2 and never scored less than 82 points in a game. Wouldn't that be nice? Thirdly, the Mixing Cocktails and the Pack Attack both won 11 games. I did touch on that at the start of the show. Now, for the bad. Mana, 4-time Lucky Pants, breaking and entering championship, title stealing, thieving, McThieve face champ Mana scored 99.2 points through a game through week 9, averaged just 80 points a game over the last 5. That is a 20-point swing. People are injured up and down. Jeff has been telling me the matchups this week aren't going to be great. Things could come to an end soon for him. However, let's be clear, the Reaper has already reaped that ass. Speaking of that ass, Team Dickweed, also part of the bad, scored 126.5 points in week 1. Came out the gates on fire. And he never scored more than 88.5 any other week. He averaged 75.7 for the weeks 2 through 14. Big start for John. Didn't finish. Sounds like the story that I've been told from others. No need to name names. Hi, Jamie. Hope you're having a good week. Lastly, the architect failed to score 1,000 points. Now, last year, well documented that Adam Saltmarsh, in the first ever 14-game season, failed to score 1,000 points. And I thought, that's pretty bad. It'll probably never happen again. And then Matt said, well, hold my beer. He did it this week. He was 3rd worst points per game in the history at 71.1. Now, of course, we have this stupid chart over here to remind us. You know what? Screw that chart. All of it. Just be done with it. We're done. We're done with that chart. Stupid ass. You know, number muncher. Ah! That's why I think of you, number muncher. Oh, where was I? Sorry, I outburst. Hulkamania. Now I gotta include this part. Hulkamaniacs never scored 100 points. Wow, that's something in the game all season. And the 5th worst point per game in history is 75.6. We already saw the chart. I now know 2 of the top bottom 5. In between those 2, though, by the way, that's right. I became the first ever 14-game regular season champion, baby. Never be able to take that. I was the first to do it. That's right. The first. All right, well, we thanks to our stats department for putting that together, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2022 season. Of course, the 2022 season isn't done just yet. However, a couple more games to cover from the regular season. Mana, four-time Lucky Pants, breaking and entering, title stealing, Thieving McThief face champ Mana, coming in at 7-6, taking on the Architect at 3-10, and the Architect needed to score about 50 points to break the 1,000-point barrier. Failed to do so. 45 for him, 74 for Jeff. Dear Jeff, a spot start by Geno Smith, 22 points. Kansas City had 16. A.J. Brown, 12. 4 players at 3.5 or less. Nick Chubb only got himself up to 3.5 this week. That typically isn't going to get the job done. Travis the Bozo Etienne with 2 points. Debo, Kenneth Walker III, out. Lamar, Darrell Waller, out. Kenneth Walker, I think, was going to play tonight. Again, Jeff's got injuries up and down this roster. It's not looking good for him. Not looking good. Good Lord, Matt. Kyrie Fairburn, your kicker, 16 points. Tyler Lockett, 12.5. 6 players at 4.5 or less. Is Jonathan Taylor your only keeper? That's the other part of this. Now, you did get a first-round pick for Devontae Adams. Will you turn that into a keeper before the draft? Will you find something in the scrap heap that is the first round? And not so much the scrap heap as it is just the damn lottery. Because, gee, you win some, you lose some in that one. I tell you what. Speaking of winning some and losing some, last game of the week, the Hulkamaniacs coming in at 5-8, taking on the Mexican Cocktails. The 10-3, and I got doubled up just the way Salty did. 119.5 for Andy, 60 for me. For Andy, Jalen Hurts. My God, as that guy had a season, 30 points. New England's defense, 20. Jamar Chase, 19. David Njoku and Ezekiel Elliott both had 11.5. And then Tyler Bass threw in 10 points. Lots of depth. Andy's team, will he play the right guys? I mean, that's always the part when you have so many players. Who do you play? And the matchups are great too. However, you can coach yourself right into the ground. Will Andy be able to ride this all the way to the title? That is yet to be seen. Trevor Lawrence gets a start because the Packers, who, by the way, are the greatest team in all the land. And by the way, we didn't mention 2 weeks ago, became the winningest team in last week I didn't mention. The winningest team in league history. That's right, league history. Best team. All time. Keenan Allen, 12 points, 4 players at 3.5 and under. Higgins got hurt in warm-ups. Wonderful, 0 points for him. Noah Fant, wonderful. Glad I had to spend $1 just to be a competitive team, and you got me 0. Thank you very much, Noah Fant. All right, stud the dud and the cringy. Here we go. Miles Sanders, 26.5 points. Jalen Hurts, 30 points. Their co-studs of the week. Dud of the week, Mark Andrews, 175.5 points last year, 93 points this year. Ooh, that stings. The cringy, Matt, you failed to score 1,000 points. That's just kind of how it goes. And so you may be front runner for the cringy. I guess time will tell. We will get the top 10 cringy award nominees at the holiday show, which, by the way, won't be next week, but it'll be the week after Christmas. So it'll be a little bit late, but we will do the holiday show. I will hand out gifts, and I will break down the top 10 nominations for the cringy. All right, well, it is playoff week 1 time, my friends, and here we go. Make America great and glorious again, at 9-5, taking on Adam Saltmarsh and the Radioactive Monkeys.
Welcome, FTFL, to the Fantasy Graveyard. The season has gone just as I have foreseen, and I choose who victory comes to. 2 teams do not have to worry this week, while the other 2 face off for their lives. But only I know the outcome before the games. Oh, as I see it, one team earlier this year got very lucky to beat America. It only took overtime, a missed field goal, and a 10-point touchdown for this team to win. I foresee fantasy death for that team this week. Come now to the fantasy graveyard Come with me through the fantasy graveyard. Yes, I have never tried it before, but yes, Dex, everything seasoning sounds wonderful on bagels. Oh, cinnamon and sugar, wonderful on toast, very underrated. Oh yes, Lowry salt-free seasoning. Yes, very savory, very delicious. Oh, Mrs. Dash, delish on your favorite dish. Yes, come now. Oh yes, pepper is the better seasoning. Yes, it is. Oh, I think we have arrived. Come now. Yes, the radioactive monkeys. Salty 2022. Too much salt isn't good for you. Salty. Don't be salty. Yes, I'm sorry. It's your time to go. Better luck next year.
It's 7-7 now. Salty does hold a 25-19 overall series record on Sid. Sid has not had Salty's number, one of the few teams that Sid has underperformed against. Will that be the case this week? I guess time will tell. And the last championship side of the bracket, D's Nuts coming in full of steam at 8-6, taking on Mana, four-time Lucky Pants, breaking and entering title steal, and Thieving McThee face champ Mana at 8-6, and Adam holds a 24-11-1 edge over Jeff. Two teams coming into this on the wrong side of history. Will they? And of course, Jeff and Swart, a little bit of the he who has been reaped bowl. Both these teams have already, according to the Reaper, been told it ain't going to be your year. One of them officially has their year come to a close this week, while one marches on in an attempt to prove the Reaper wrong. On the consolation side of things, we have the Hulkamaniacs at 5-9 taking on the Architect at 3-11, and the Valhalla Vandals at 4-10 taking on Team Dickweed at 4-10. Buys for Andy and Eric. We made it. The end of the regular season. Playoffs are starting, and I'm not in them. But I still have this, and I will for a long time. I thank you all for watching this week. Number Muncher, I'm telling you right... God, the Undertaker fell down. Whatever. Number Muncher, you've been warned. This better be the last I hear from you. All right, until next week, my friends, stay safe, have a great time, and peace!